Welcome to my first behind the scenes video. I mentioned on my Instagram that I wanted to try to have a little piece of my art on the covers. I absolutely love these covers, so I thought let me try to recreate the cover, and I would digitally paint it. It's not too far out of my realm because I do hyper-realism paintings on canvas, but painting digitally, it is very different. There's a lot of pros, but also there's some cons. You don't have that same like tangible nature with the paint and the brush. So this is my first attempt at doing like a hyper-realism painting digitally. I am using Procreate, but I love painting women and their faces, so that's my comfortable space. So tackling this male model that's also my own book, I feel like I had to start small, and there's always that very ugly painting stage, and there's sometimes that I'm like, oh no, we can't do this, it's not looking good. But I am happy that I pushed through, because as of right now, there's aspects that I really like. Of course, as an artist, we're very hard on ourselves, and this is something I think as an artist you have to ask yourself. So when I'm painting, you guys, I'm like zoomed into the pixel level in the pour, but obviously my readers are not looking at it this close. They're not even looking at it this close. So I have to stop nitpicking, and I have to say, hey, the readers are seeing him about this size on the book. We'll make his head about there. And then if I go down to Kindle ebook, it's even smaller. Like the thumbnails are really that size. So if it's this size, I think I'm okay with it. But there's a few things that I do want to fix. So I thought I would show you that here. One thing I love about the original cover was he has these really like sultry, like furrowed brows, and you can see his lid here. The eyelid is like, it's hooded and it's overhanging because he's furrowing his brows. And I got a little too into my work. I shaded this way too dark, so it's actually setting his eyelid further back when his eyes are furrowed, and you can see some of that here and how the muscles are holding taut. So I need to go ahead and lighten that up so it matches the movement of the muscles. So we will go ahead and do that now. I'm gonna start in the middle. I'm gonna grab like this lighter gray. I'm using Procreate. I really like this app for this type of digital drawing, but if I do any watercolor illustrations, I like to use Adobe Fresco. They have a live watercolor brush that it actually bleeds and mimics if you're really watercolor painting. And hopefully I'm not getting too in depth in the art world for those who don't know what I'm talking about referring to the apps, but maybe this video will inspire you guys to, try your hand at coloring. We don't all start out drawing something photorealistic, so don't be too hard on yourself. And just remember to start small. There is always an ugly painting stage where you are just about ready to throw the pencil down. Maybe you have thrown the pencil down. I know that I have done that. Just keep trying to push through, because there was points when I was drawing him, I wanted to stop, and it's like I moved on to sections that I was more comfortable with. To kind of get some wind in my sails. His hair definitely stressed me out. It scared me, guys, because he's got this really luscious hair. He looks like he should be like, like a 90s romance book hair model. I don't know. It stressed me out, but I'm pretty happy with it, and I added in these blurred bits. I can live with it. Of course, I could keep going back and changing it. But I have to remember this, and this is really important. I stand really, really close to my canvas. People are not going to be looking at his pores because this is a digital painting. I have to bring it down to the book cover size and say, hey, this is how a printed cover is going to look. But not only that, a digital cover, it's going to be even smaller. Like that's the thumbnail you see on your screen. So it's important to step back as an artist and think, how are my viewers going to view this? So just try to remember that, like when you start getting down on yourself with the details, there's little things that your viewers might not even see because you're just looking at it way more in depth than any other viewer is. So don't give up. That's the point of my message. Such sultry eyes. You really want to kind of mimic that in the digital drawing, because I feel like that's some of the appeal of picking him up as the book cover. He just has these eyes that are furrowed. You can tell he's going through something. At least that's what I think when I see the cover. And I really want that to translate. Let's see. Okay, we've brought it up a lot, but now I need to sink this part back a little bit. It's just a little too far forward, especially if I'm looking at my reference. He does have an eyelid crease, kind of bows up this way. One thing where you're just learning to draw, you might look at a whole face and think, there's no way that I can draw that. You know, everything essentially is a shape of some sort. You know, even if it's a curved blob, you can see shapes in that, like curves of a cylinder or a circle or whatnot. So just try to like take baby steps to that. Think of it some way that's going to help give you some type of confidence to start somewhere. It's just the hardest part. Like everyone says, it's true, it's starting. I feel like this is a little too big because his eyelid here is curving here. And then we've gone a little too dark. So we're just gonna kind of throw some texture back in here. I really like to use the technical pencil. And something I've mentioned to you guys, like seeing how a viewer sees it, when I paint, I like to stand really close to the canvas. And the only way I can describe it, you guys, is it's kind of like when you're looking at clouds and you're trying to find shapes in clouds. I do that with my canvas when I'm painting like skin tone and texture and pores and lines. And I found that the same thing could be done when I see it digitally. Obviously, I'm zoomed in here to the pixel level, but I kind of just look and I kind of look for shapes. Like, let me make my brush small. Like right here, there's a line that could be a wrinkle. I don't know if that idea is translating, but I honestly see the shapes of the skin in that on the canvas and with the pixels, and that's how I kind of just connect the dots and see it. That's how my mind sees it. So maybe someone else out there that will help them see it the same way. Or maybe you'll just say I'm cuckoo cuckoo, but that's okay too. Okay. It's getting there. I think that the thing is, we need to show that this is not his lid. This to me now, it looks like his entire eyelid, where this is actually the top of his eyelid, the hood that's overhanging. So I think if we look close, we can see that there's a dark line, and he also has a little crease there that shows us, hey, this is not my eyelid. This is my hood, and my eyelid is just totally taken over it. Just got it. So since I drew a little line here, it's important that I do a light color above it, because I want to show that this is set further back. I want to just change some of the values. And if I'm thinking of this as a rolled figure, you know, it's something that's curled and in motion, think of it like, you know, like a piece of paper, his eyelid is. So you can see here where it's rolled, these different tonal shifts. So I want to try to create that. So I want to get the gray parts here. just like how the paper has this gray because that's curled in. And then I also want to put in the highlight, the top of the paper page. And if I look at my reference, he really has a lot of light. This piece of his eyelid is actually overhanging more than the bulk, like the meat of his eyelid, if that makes sense. And just try to think of it this way, like this part is the most forward because it's pushed over his eye. You know, everything is a shape. So think like this is not just a piece of skin that's lying flat. It is sitting on top of his eyeball, and it needs to actually show that this is higher than this. So we're getting there. The thing that now to me is this is way too light. I need to darken it and show that contrast. It's really like such a tango, isn't it? It's like dark light, dark light. It's like fighting, but it's a fun fight. I guess it relates back to like reading a book. It's like an enemies to lovers. You know, they fight, they make up. I'm just trying to find the right color and balance. Sometimes I smooth it, sometimes I leave it a little more rough. Add some of his eyelashes in just because I think it's gonna help. You know, sometimes we forget that the eyelashes, they're covering up some of those details that I'm drawing in. So although like I'm still playing around with the layer, I'm not totally happy. I'm putting the eyelashes on a new layer just to kind of help give me that reference. When I'm painting on canvas, the funnest part is adding the highlights, you guys. And it's so hard because sometimes I find myself, I start adding them way before I should. You know, you always should make sure that underpainting and your shade and everything is proportional. And sometimes I just get so excited, I start adding highlights, and then I have to go back and erase them with paint, which is painful, but it's not right, so I have to do it. But really, if you want to try to make something look real, it's not even like these small details, it's the highlight. And near the edge of my highlight, just want to kind of, I don't know if I've mentioned this to you guys, but this is the first time I've poured effort into drawing a male before. Of course, we had male models when we were in college during our classes. Of course, they didn't look like him. My grandmother taught me how to paint, and she taught me how to paint women, and that's always what I've painted. It's what I like to paint. So I feel like sometimes my confidence with this cover is a little shaky because I've never really poured this much energy and effort into drawing a male. So I try to remind myself to be a little kinder. In this eye, you might be wondering what I'm doing. I just felt like I lightened this eye so much that I kind of just needed to adjust. So let me be very honest with you guys. It's still not how I want it. If I was painting this on canvas, I would keep pushing, and I am gonna push a little bit more, and I'll come back and I'll show you what I did. Well, now you guys, I feel like this is way too dark. You know, sometimes when you paint, it's like you do one thing, you fix one thing, then you realize something else is wrong. This is way too dark. This poor chap looks like he's got a black eye, and maybe he got one when he was trying to save the main character in the book, but I don't want that to show on the cover. So we will lighten it up. And actually, if I'm looking at my reference, he does have right under that delicious highlight, he does have quite a dark shadow. Okay, this is before, you guys. Try to bring my reference higher. You can see where he has that hooded eyelid. So this was before. I'm gonna turn on the layer of what we did. I think it's better. I feel much more comfortable with this. I just gave him too pretty of eyes for a man. I think I went way too feminine. I didn't follow my reference. And now we've got more of like that hooded look. Of course, I could keep working on this and nitpicking it all day. I know that I told you guys I was leaving things there, but I couldn't because there's a part of me that just did not get his eyes right. So I reworked it and I reworked. I ended up erasing his whole eyebrow and drawing that over again. And I think that I can say I'm settled with this, like actually leaving his eye set in stone. I finally got where the crease of his eye is going up, it's fading, and like I said, I've got to bring this back down to the level. I think I can say that I'm happy with that, and I hope that you guys can see a difference. If not, it's just me too far into my work as an artist, but that's where we are leaving him off. And a little sneak peek, I did start drawing book 2. I'm trying this with a different approach where I kind of colored in the whole canvas, but to be honest with you guys, that's overwhelming me a little bit, where the other book, it was like I started in sections and worked my way out, and just kind of seeing him as a whole. It's a little stressful, but I'm just kind of zooming in here and starting to work out the details here. You know, baby steps and chewing slow and staying positive.